Hi everyone, thanks for listening to another episode of Dogman Encounters Radio. I'm Vic Cundiff and I'll be your host for the show. Before we get started, if you've had a Dogman encounter of your own and would like to speak with me whether in private or on the show, please go to dogmanencounters.com and submit a report. I'd love to hear from you. Tonight's guest is John Locklear. John, welcome to the show.
Hi, Vic. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and you, bud?
Pretty good.
Good. Thanks for being here. Well, let's dive into this, John. For starters, please give us a brief bio on yourself.
Well, I'm 35. I'm a mechanic. Got 2 kids, married. I stay in a rural area, pretty much the same area that my encounter happened in. That's all really I can think of at the moment.
Since you live in the area where you said you had your encounter, do you struggle with that, or are you okay with that?
Well, it's pretty decent now, because there really ain't too much wooded areas no more. There's like a few acres of patched woods, and around the river there's stretches of wood, but other than that area, it makes me feel a little bit more better about where I stay at.
Yeah, I'd imagine that would help a lot.
Yeah.
If you had trees all around you, taking the trash out at night would be a nightmare, but since it sounds like most of the trees are gone, it's got to be a lot easier.
Yeah, that trash had to sit in the house till in the morning. I just don't feel comfortable no more anywhere. I just had that feeling of being watched. I don't know, it's just uncomfortable after that encounter.
Oh no, I can understand. Were you into werewolves and other monsters when you were growing up?
No, that was actually my first experience was that night. And then after that happened, then that's how I ended up started looking into stuff like that. But at the time when that happened, I was so young that you never really heard nothing about werewolves or dogmen. Back then when that happened, the only things I hear about was Michael J. Fox on Teen Wolf.
Yeah, I saw that movie. In a way, it would be nice if that was as bad as it got, but unfortunately, it does get a lot worse than that.
Yeah, like a mad cat.
Yeah, I'd say. I know it's hard to imagine in any way being glad about having a dogman encounter, but are you glad that you had that encounter? Because now, if you think about it, you know they're out there and you can behave accordingly when you're in the woods.
In a way I do, but then in the back of my head I wished I'd never seen it. Because I really do like the woods and the thought of going out there hiking and stuff like that. But then, I don't know, I got that uneasy feeling of seeing it again, and I don't really want to ever have that happen again.
Oh, I think almost anyone could understand that. If you wouldn't have had your experience, would you have ever believed someone else who had approached you and told you about having one themselves?
No, I'd have never believed it. Never. It sounds like something off TV or a dream. It's sobering. Like, I don't know. It blows my mind. I don't know how come. What's the deal? Why it ain't recognized as a species?
Well, for that to happen, a lot more evidence would have to be put before the scientific community, so I'm not surprised that they're not recognized as being in existence.
I know all the videos and stuff, it's crazy.
Oh, I'd say. There are videos out there of these things. A lot of people who follow the topic don't realize that, but yeah, there are videos out there proving their existence, but unfortunately, it's going to take a lot more than that to prove that they actually do exist to the scientific community, since you can fake something like that. Have you heard of people in your area seeing dogmen before?
I've never heard anybody say nothing about seeing stuff, but what people do see around here, they say it be like Bigfoot. They don't really get us actual close encounter. It's just what they hear or see in the distance. Nobody really talks about nothing like that around here.
Yeah, that's the way it is pretty much anywhere you go. If you talk about seeing something like that, it's almost a given that you're going to be ridiculed and made fun of, so why would most people who see one come forward and talk about it, unfortunately?
Yeah, it's been eating away at me all my life. Make me feel like I'm the only person up until I found your show. I felt like I was a loner, and it just makes you think you're crazy. I don't know. It just it's another level.
Yeah, I know it's really hard to deal with. At least now you know you're not crazy, which is one of the biggest steps towards recovering from it. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, and still feel that uneasy feeling.
That's not a surprise. Everyone's got their own speed that they heal, that they recover from something like this. Hopefully, sooner rather than later, you'll bounce back to a position where you can talk about it without feeling all that much tension. But only time will tell. John, tell us about the area where you saw this Dogman.
Well, at the time, this was in the 80s. It was pretty wooded back then before all the people cutting down from houses and residential areas. But there is a river right here at my house. And at the time, same spot, there's a river runs right behind it, about maybe an eighth of a mile, quarter mile at the most. And it's always been wooded, and it still is through that strip. And that's the area where I had seen.
It does sound like it's a totally different place. Back then, though, what kind of food sources would have been around for a Dogman to live on?
At that time, we had plenty of deer. I still see deer around here in the field behind my house. Because I got a couple patches of woods around me. And they are quite a few chicken houses around, even then and now. At that time, I was so young that it's kind of hard to justify what was back then.
Oh no, I can understand that. Thinking back to how it was back then, if you can remember, can you recall if they had any wild hogs around back then?
Oh yeah, definitely. And there's some domestic pigs that got loose. Plenty of them had got loose. And you know how they are.
It sounds to me like any dogman around that area would have had plenty of food sources to pick from, so it's not hard to imagine how a dogman could have made its living back then.
Yeah, there'd be quite a few shows. I'm seeing quite a few TV shows come here on hunting pigs or boar. It's pretty popular around here. Well, there's bear around here also, but they're small, really nothing. It's kind of rare to see a bear, but they are here.
Were they around back then?
Oh yeah. I have uncles that hunt them still to this day. That's all they hunt.
We don't know the dogmen prey upon bear. Maybe they do eat bear, but all we can do is guess on that. With the weapons that they carry and considering how big a dogman can get, I don't rule it out as a possibility.
I know for a fact that they released a bunch of coyotes around here. It was last year because we're overpopulated with deer, especially towards Bladenboro. I know they released a lot of coyotes to try to help with the population because there's not as many hunters most places, I guess. And I've seen plenty of fox and bobcats, but I doubt they eat them. It's hard to say that.
From the way you said what you did about coyotes, it sounds like back then when you had that encounter, you didn't have coyotes around.
I still, to this day, I ain't never seen none, but everybody else. I don't go in the woods to begin with. That's my friends hunting stuff. So, and that's what they be telling me about.
So you pretty much do the best you can to stay out of the woods now.
Oh yeah, that's all. I like to go to state parks every once in a while on Sundays during the daytime to walk the trails, but I really don't go too far. It don't be nothing to even talk about, And that's with a bunch of people. So.
Oh no, I can understand. I wouldn't blame you after what you've been through. All right, John, let's get into the details of this encounter. Please tell us every last detail that comes to mind about it.
Righty then. I was about 8 or 9 years old and was having a little get-together at my mother's friend's house. I had a buddy that stayed there at the time. His name was Randy. My mom's best friend had to run an errand next door, which was across the road. It really weren't far. She asked if we wanted to ride, so we rode with her, and they weren't a couple minutes away. We sat in the car to wait on her while she had to do whatever she was going to do at the neighbor's house. While we was sitting there, we got tired of waiting, so we just went in to rush her up, get her to come on out so we could go back to the house. When we come back to the car, we was sitting there waiting, and the dogs was barking, going crazy. They had a bunch of bulldogs along the wood line, and then all of a sudden we noticed that the dogs had quit barking. Me and my friend Randy was sitting in the back seat of the car. I think it was a Buick Regal. When we noticed that the dogs quit barking, we kind of started looking around like we thought maybe my mom's friend was coming back to the car to get us or to leave. And then I noticed at the corner of my eye coming from the back of the car towards the wood line is when I seen the Dogman werewolf. I only got a side view of it, but it looked similar to the lichen off of Underworld, but it didn't have the beard. It was just like a dog head with a massive chest with a little bit of a hump in its back. It didn't have fur, but it had like long hair everywhere, but its stomach was sucked in. It was built like a bodybuilder, but it was skinny at the same time. It's hard to explain. It was crazy. I could see its snout wrinkled back, like wrinkling up, and it was showing its teeth. It looked just like a person, the way its arms were. Like on the pictures I see, they have long arms, but it didn't really have that. It had like regular human arms, but it was like raccoon hands. And it was just creeping by, like it didn't even see us. But we're sitting in the back of the car with our eyeballs just staring, froze. I guess it didn't see us because it never acted like it did see us. It just creeped on by, making like a growling face. I can't explain how that, like it was showing its fang. And then we got down into the floorboard, scared, and never heard or seen nothing after that. It was until my mom's friend come tapping at the window, beating on it really, hollering, let me in, and we got to freaking out, thinking we didn't know if it was getting her or what she was wanting, but she just wanted to get in so she could go on back to where my mom was across the road. And we finally unlocked the doors to let her in, but apparently she never seen anything because she never said anything. And to this day, I still ain't never said nothing to nobody besides my wife. I don't even talk about it with my friend Randy at the time. I ain't never even talked to it about him. Ask him. I can't even get the nerve up to ask that to her now when I see him about what happened that night. What did he see? It's just so uncomforting to talk about it with other people. Oh, man. But that's basically all what we seen. It was brief, but it felt like an eternity. And I still got that image in my head, and I think about that every second of the day, it seems like.
From talking with you, John, about your encounter, it's obvious to me that encounter tore you down in a way. I don't know when. I don't think anyone could have a way of knowing how long it would take, but I think eventually you are going to get back to the point where you can deal with this in a way that you can do what you need to do without being hindered by it. I hope that's sooner rather than later. But having said that, you mentioned that your wife is the only other person that you've told about this encounter. Is that because of her reaction to you sharing this with her, or is it just because your wife is the only person you trust enough to share something like that with without knowing you're going to get laughed at?
Well, what happened is her brother's like a real big hunter, and he's one of the people that talk about they heard something in the woods, but they never really seen anything. And I hadn't even told her about what I had seen at the time, and that kind of opened me up when we first met. And then I told her about what I seen, and she actually, believed me. Well, if she don't, she never said she didn't. So, and that's how come I opened up to her. to tell her what had happened.
I see. A lot of eyewitnesses fight this inner battle, John, where when they know someone who goes out into the woods with any kind of regularity, they fight this inner battle of, should I let them know about what's out there so that they can protect themselves, or should I just keep it to myself because of the chances that they're going to laugh at me if I tell them something like this? On your end, do you fight a little inside battle like that, or have you decided just flat out not to tell anyone and you don't even get tempted to share this info?
You about had to beat information out of me to get me to talk. I don't really tell nobody anything unless they go to talking about what they have seen or encountered in their life. Then I kind of open up. Most of the time, I really don't tell nobody. I hadn't told nobody but her.
Yeah, I can understand. That makes sense. What was the hardest thing about all this to get over?
I ain't really got over none of it, to tell you the truth. It's just a never-ending battle. I'd really like to see it again, to tell you the truth, just to verify that, that I've seen that ain't crazy. But then again, I don't know. I'd rather just see it on YouTube or listen to somebody else's. It just, I don't know. I hadn't really got over none of it, to tell you the truth. It just freaked me out.
Oh, I'm sure it did. You talked about how it looked when you saw it creeping past the car. In your opinion, did it look more biological or just flat out evil?
It looked like angry, like a German Shepherd, like angry, like a mad German Shepherd, like you come on its territory. And I don't know, it just, that's what only way I can describe it like, but with a human body, like, but bodybuilder type. But yeah, it definitely biological, like flesh and blood. Yeah, I definitely seen that. It was like 6-8 foot away from the car. It was about 6-7 foot tall at the most. It weren't really that tall because it was taller than the car. But it's crazy.
Oh, I'd say, and then some. You described its movement as looking like it was creeping past the car. Is it safe to say that it never did stop? It just kept on moving as it went past?
Yeah, I think it probably did. We freaked out and got to the floorboard, and I never moved an inch after me or Randy when we seen that. And we probably laid there about 5-10 minutes, maybe at the most, before my mom's friend come out to the car. It's kind of hard to say that what was going on. It might have. I'm pretty sure it probably did see us jump to the floorboard. The car rocked, but we never heard anything neither. So, but it was creeping by like it was stalking, like it seen something. It never looked at us. It was looking forward the whole time, like it had something it was watching, which was surrounded by dogs. I mean, through the wood line. So it could have been there to get one of the animals there or something. We messed that up for it.
Did you have the windows all the way up, or were they down at all where you might have had a chance to smell anything?
The windows was up. I didn't smell nothing. I'm glad they was up too. I didn't smell nothing at that. Even when we walked out from inside the house to the car, I never smelled anything besides the usual dog smells, from all the dogs that they had, It's kind of hard to smell anything besides that.
Since you said the windows were all the way up, it'd be pretty hard to notice this, but I want to ask you anyway. Did you notice by chance all the ambient sounds around you of all the insects and other animals like that? Did they go silent before this dogman appeared? I know you said the dogs were making a lot of noise, but was everything else silent from what you could tell?
Oh yeah, it was dead silent. You couldn't hear nothing. Even the dogs had stopped barking, so they weren't nothing going on. And it was during the summertime, and we didn't hear no crickets, so it was nothing going on. That's what made it even more creepier. It was just dead silent.
I see. I know you didn't get the best look at this thing, but did you by chance get a look to see if it had any genitalia that was visible?
Actually, from the side, I didn't see anything. What I focused in on was its teeth and the way its nose was wrinkled back. I seen the hands and the torso and the stomach, you know how that looked, and the tail. But once it got past the tail, everything else, like, I can't really recall on that area. I never really paid that much attention to it. But it looked exactly like that lichen, but its head wasn't as big, and it didn't have a hair under its chin like that there. It was just like a German Shepherd walking on two legs.
When you describe it as looking like a German Shepherd walking on two legs, it sounds to me like its head was in proportion to its body. Is that true, or was its head a little bigger in proportion?
Its head was in proportion with its body. It just had that massive chest and the hump in its back, but it didn't have fur like the German Shepherd. It had like it looked like hair or something, but it was full of hair, but it was real thin hair, and you could see all the muscle detail in it, and its rib cage, and I could see the abs in its stomach from the side. That's really all I noticed about that there was. But it was just like a German Shepherd upright, but it was just, instead of fur, it had like hair, but it was thin hair. And across its back, you could tell how, when it was teeth showing, you could see like on the back hair was like standing up, like, you know how when regular dogs get angry, how the hair stands up on them, like, it's hard to explain, but it was kind of like that there.
Did you happen to see if it had claws or fingernails?
It was just like a raccoon's hand, exactly. It was exactly like that. It had like, it weren't claws, it was just like long fingernails. I don't know how it could go in between, really and truly. It's hard to tell. It was just identical to a raccoon's hand. So that image, when I seen it, it's burnt into my head for the rest of my life. It's just crazy.
Yeah, the whole thing is crazy. The idea that something like them could be out there and roaming around. Do you have any Indian burial grounds in your area that you know of?
I always heard that there was some, but from where my encounter was and where it was at, it was maybe 5 to 6 miles away, and it was covered up by a schoolhouse. So where it used to be at is a schoolhouse now. But I never really researched into that. But I need to look into that to verify that. But I always heard that school was built on top of an Indian burial grounds.
Did you know that these things are more commonly seen in areas where there are mounds like that around?
I heard briefly about stuff like that, but no, I didn't really know that.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it does seem to highly increase the chances of you having an encounter if there are burial mounds like that in the area. I don't know why, but that seems to be the case.
I definitely need to look up where all the known burial grounds is then for sure and stay away from that little area.
Yeah, I'd say so. That is a shame if, like what you were just mentioning, if they did build a school on top of where a burial mound was at one time. That's horrible.
Yeah. This here was from an employee that's been there working since the 60s that told me this. That's why I never really looked into it, because I always took their word into it.
Through all of this, did you ever get the impression that Dogman wasn't alone?
It seemed to be like it was by itself. It was so focused on what was ahead of it. And then when I seen it, and I watched it until we dunked down, but it seemed to be that it was alone at that time.
We'll never know for sure what it was focused on, but all I can say about that is thank goodness it wasn't focused on you two.
Yeah, we won't be talking right now, probably. Pretty sure something like that there, a brick house could hold that down. It amazes me when I hear people's encounters, how they talk about how it just jiggles doorknobs and don't never. I mean, what could really stop something that big, really and truly, if it wanted to come in, there ain't nothing stopping it.
I think a lot of that's to try and terrorize people when they jiggle door handles or fool with car doors, but there are people that turn up missing. Maybe those people are missing at the hands or claws of one of these things. It's hard to say.
Yeah, that's some of that missing 411 stuff there.
Yeah, I'd say so. When you described it as having the head of a German Shepherd, are you saying that its ears looked like a German Shepherd's ears, or did they look a little different?
They weren't as pointy on the up top. They was actually towards the side, but it's just had that dog head I was focusing in on. But the ears was actually on the side, like instead of not on the top like a German Shepherd. You know how German Shepherds, they make that triangle look when they stand straight up. But I don't really know how to explain how the ears would look there. They're laid back. It was very, but that's what it reminds me of, a German Shepherd. Minus the ears. I don't know how to explain how the ears were, but they're like laid back like that. Not as big.
You said it did have its ears laid back like it was upset, like it was angry?
Yeah, definitely laid back.
Oh, that's not good. Does it blow your mind to think about the fact that there are people that'll do almost anything to go out into the bush and have an encounter with one of these things, having had an encounter with one yourself?
I don't understand people like that. They apparently ain't never seen anything, or really, he could be standing right beside of you and you would never see it, to be honest, because the way I noticed how cats and stuff around here and bobcats, how they blend into the wood. There is no way you would see anything a couple feet into the wood watching you or stalking you unless you would actually hear footsteps. I don't understand how people can do stuff like that. That apparently they ain't got nothing to lose. I heard a fella on one of the podcasts, I can't remember which one it was, he claimed that he knew exactly what made him mad to come to him every time. And I'm like, I wouldn't even want to know what he was going to do that to provoke him. I don't know. They wouldn't be prepared if they did see it, to be honest. If they'd seen what I've seen, they'd probably get under the sheets in bed.
Oh, I'll bet you're right. Well, John, it's about time to get out of here. I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing the details of that encounter with us.
It feels pretty good to be able to talk to somebody about what I've seen.
I hope it does help you in most cases, in almost every case when an eyewitness comes on the show and has a chance to publicly put the details of their encounter out there with everyone. It really does seem to help quite a bit. I hope that is the case with you as well. I really do. Well, thanks again so much for your time, John. I really do appreciate it. You have yourself a great night, okay?
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.